Emily had always believed life was about control, planning ahead, staying organized, and building a future step by step. At 28, she had secured a well-paying corporate job in Chicago, was engaged to her college sweetheart, and was just a few months away from buying her first apartment. But one stormy evening, as she was driving home after a late meeting, heavy rain blurred her vision, and in a split second, a truck swerved into her lane. The crash was sudden, brutal, and loud. Emily survived, but her right leg was fractured badly. Doctors told her she needed months of rest and therapy. Her job required constant mobility, travel, and tight deadlines, so she had to take an unpaid leave. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling for hours each day, she felt her carefully built world collapsing. The city outside kept moving while her life stood still. She began questioning why this had to happen now, just when everything was falling into place. Nights became long, and her thoughts turned heavy. She wondered if she would ever return to her old life. But what she couldn't see yet was that this forced pause would become the doorway to something extraordinary. While recovering, Emily faced a new heartbreak. Her company, struggling financially, sent her an email one Friday morning. She was officially laid off due to downsizing. The timing felt cruel. She was already immobilized physically and emotionally, and now she had lost the job she had worked so hard to secure. She read the email again and again, hoping it was a mistake, but it wasn't. Her friends tried to comfort her, saying, "Something better will come." But the words felt empty. Bills were piling up, her fiancé had grown distant, and her self-esteem began to crumble. She stayed in her apartment for days, refusing to answer calls, feeling like the world had moved on without her. Her heart was heavy with anger at fate, at the company, even at herself. She started doubting whether her dreams were ever meant for her. Each morning felt like a burden rather than a beginning. Little did she know that this loss, though painful, was quietly clearing space in her life for something far more meaningful than she had ever imagined. One afternoon, during a routine hospital checkup, Emily met Grace, a silver-haired woman with a warm smile who sat beside her in the waiting area. Grace was a cancer survivor, full of stories about second chances and unexpected turns life can take. Noticing Emily's sadness, Grace gently said, "Sometimes, life stops you not to break you, but to redirect you." Those words landed deeply, though Emily didn't immediately believe them. Grace shared how her own diagnosis had once felt like a curse, but had led her to discover her life's true purpose, helping others heal. Their conversation was brief, but Grace's presence lingered in Emily's mind. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt a small shift within herself, a whisper of hope that perhaps her suffering wasn't meaningless. She began journaling their conversation, replaying Grace's words over and over. "Life stops you to redirect you." She still didn't see where her life was heading, but a tiny seed of possibility had been planted that day. Sometimes it only takes a stranger's sentence to begin mending what life has broken. With more time at home and no job to occupy her, Emily found herself wandering into old drawers one evening and discovered a set of paintbrushes and watercolor paints she hadn't touched since high school. Back then, she loved painting but had given it up in pursuit of a serious career. Out of boredom, she set up a small table by her window and began painting. At first, it was clumsy, her hands were stiff, her mind distracted, but slowly the strokes began to flow. Hours would pass, and for the first time in months, she felt her mind quiet. Each brushstroke carried her pain, her uncertainty, and her longing for healing. Her paintings became her diary, colorful yet raw, reflecting everything she couldn't put into words. Friends who visited encouraged her, saying her art had soul. Though she didn't intend to make it more than a pastime, painting gave her something her corporate job never had: peace. What she considered a meaningless hobby was quietly becoming a bridge between her broken past and a new beginning waiting to reveal itself. One chilly morning, Emily decided to share a photo of her painting on social media, just to show her friends how she was spending her recovery days. To her surprise, the post gained unexpected attention. People commented about how deeply the colors expressed emotion, how they saw their own struggles reflected in her work. Within a week, one of her paintings went viral on an art-focused platform. Soon after, she received an email from a local gallery inviting her to display her work in an upcoming exhibition. At first, She hesitated. She wasn't a real artist, was she? But something inside whispered that this was not an accident. With trembling hands, she agreed. That night, for the first time in months, she felt a spark of excitement, a flicker of purpose. What began as a desperate attempt to escape her pain was now opening a door she never thought existed. As weeks turned to months, Emily began building her life again, not in the way she had planned, but in the way life intended. She sold a few paintings at the gallery, and soon more requests followed. She started a small online store, turning her art into a business. Along the way, she noticed how her perspective had shifted. What she once saw as failures were actually redirections. Her broken engagement, which had devastated her, now felt like a blessing in disguise. The man who left her during hardship made space for people who truly supported her. She started surrounding herself with those who believed in her new path. The woman who once lived for deadlines and corporate meetings now woke up each day with purpose, painting pieces that touched souls and healed her own. A year after the accident, Emily stood on a brightly lit stage at an art therapy conference, invited as a guest speaker to share her story. Her palms were sweaty, her heart raced, but as she looked into the audience, she saw faces full of curiosity and hope, the same hope she once searched for. She spoke about the night of the accident, the job loss, the heartbreak, and how each moment, painful as it was, led her to rediscover her forgotten gift. The room erupted in applause, and Emily felt tears well in her eyes. The accident that had once seemed like the end of her dreams had become the very reason she had found her true calling. Looking back, Emily finally understood what those dark months were trying to teach her. The job loss freed her from a path that wasn't meant for her heart. The broken engagement saved her from a love that would not have endured. The accident forced her to pause and realign with her true purpose. Every pain, every tear, every sleepless night had been a necessary thread in the tapestry of her new life. She no longer carried resentment toward the past. Instead, she carried gratitude. Everything truly had happened for a reason, and that reason had given her a life richer, deeper, and far more meaningful than the one she had once planned.